There's an old saying there, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So how do you make him drink? You salt his oats.
Salt his oats.
Salt his oats. So,
Nice.
I like it. So, kids sports, you're salting their oats, man.
Yeah.
You get them in the door and plug them into more stuff. Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. I'm your host, Albert Gillespie.
And I'm your co-host, Kellen Ketchersid. Join us as we bring you stories from business leaders so you can learn from their wins, their losses, and everything in between.
Today's guest is Cade Powell, the founder and executive director at Flatland Youth Fund, a nonprofit based here in Lubbock, Texas. Without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Cade Powell.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I am excited to have you. Real quick, give me a description. What does Flatland Youth Fund do, and what problem are you solving?
Yes, we try to help close the gap between families who don't have resources and their kids participating in extracurricular activities through scholarships.
All right. So what does that look like in a day-to-day? Like if a kid comes to Flatland, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we do application windows about once a quarter, and it kind of follows the sports schedule. But they apply, and we have a selection committee, and they review all of it based off of criteria from SNAP benefits and Medicaid to proof of income as well. And then they select those anonymously so they don't see the kids' names. And then we reward the scholarship directly to the league or whoever the kids are participating with. And then if they need sporting equipment, then we do gift cards to Play It Again Sports here in town. So we just buy those, put them in the kid's name, and then they can go pick those up and buy whatever they need for however much we allotted.
Very cool.
That's amazing. Okay.
It's been fun.
How did you learn about this need? Like, I'm sure there's a story there. Like, how did you find this need and decide to chase it?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Brownfield and very proud to be from there. My wife actually worked there up until this past January. And she called me one day and basically said, "Hey, I overheard this conversation. There's a kid that needs $75 to play softball." And I said, "Okay." And, she said, "Can we pay for it?" I was like, "Yeah, we can do that." Part of our tithing every month is most of it goes to our church, and some of it is set aside for just like random giving things that we feel led to or we see come up. So called the league, made the payment, saw the lady in the grocery store a few days later, gave her a thumbs up. She's like, "Yep, she's registered." And I said, "Okay." And then it just kind of dawned on me of like, people have been doing this forever. My parents did it. My friends' parents did it. And so it's a real need. People are doing it already. So we'll try to give them a platform to do it. And just kind of grew from there.
That's amazing. Yeah. So the first time just helping somebody on your own. And then, so tell us a little bit about that growth and the process of going from just, a benevolent one-time gift to now an organization.
Yeah. So I've always had like entrepreneurial ideas, but never had the courage or the confidence to like jump and just start it. So I called some friends and we're like, "Hey, I had this idea. What do you think?" And nonprofit was kind of the way we came, the idea we came to. And as I looked into it, I was like, that looks really intimidating. All of the paperwork, all of the, the financial stuff, the paperwork stuff, all of that stuff seems overwhelming. So I actually went to my church and talked to our preacher and I said, "Hey, can we host a checking account basically under your 501 where we could disperse checks for kids for scholarships?" And he said, "I think that's a great idea. We're going to meet with the elders in 2 weeks. We'll talk to them then and see what happens." Fast forward 2 weeks, like I'd had enough conversations. Like God honestly has blessed Flatland Youth Fund like way more than any of the amount of work that I could have done. Within those 2 weeks, like we had our first donor that was like just enough for us to get incorporated with an attorney to do it the right way. We had some friends that are at Jackalope Creative. They donated their time to build our website and our logo.
Wow, that's very nice.
So like we just had a bunch of things fall into place. And then since then, we've just been really blessed to find, donors and grants and different things. So it started out as like this little idea that I didn't really want to run with. And now it's like a full blown nonprofit with, people that were helping and a board and a selection committee. And so, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So how many kids are you guys currently assisting?
So last year we had 2 scholarship windows. We helped 23. We just
Okay.
finished up our first round of giving in 2026. We helped 53 kids in January. So we're up to 76. Our goal this year is 100 from January to December. So we're over halfway there. So hopefully we
That's
can get
awesome.
there before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Man, I've said it a million times on the podcast, but we're both of us were kind of in that youth sports era.
Yeah.
I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old boy, both boys.
Yeah.
And
Mine
we're
are 12, 10, and 7. So right there too.
yeah, we're in it. It's like every night of the week, maybe we have a couple nights off,
Yeah.
but we're in it, and it is such a impactful time, and getting a good coach, getting a good group of kids it can completely change a kid. And so do you have maybe I know it's early, but do you have maybe a success story that you can share and how it's practically impacted a kid?
Yeah. I mean, I think, one of our limitations right now is, we don't have enough money to employ people to like follow up with kids and families. And so the follow through has not been exactly what I've hoped for, but like we had a kid this year that we scholarshiped playing basketball. Texted a friend down there that's like on the board and coaches. He's really involved. And I said, how are these 2 kids doing? He's like, man, like these brothers, they're doing awesome. He said the younger brother is actually probably going to make the all-star team. And so come to find out, he made the all-star team. So he's like getting to travel and play more ball.
Very cool.
And I think the Little League covers all of that. So like he's getting to do that. All it cost us was $25 because we have a partnership with them. And so like for $25, like we helped a kid not only play basketball, but now he's on the all-star team. Like that just, I don't know, that does a lot of things. When I look back, I was like, that gave me so much confidence in elementary school to be like, oh, I'm on this team of people that are also really good. My buddies, my friends. I'm like, now he's getting to experience that. And so that's it's a cool story.
Say more about, what do you think kids in our community how is their life different? How does that change the game for them, growing up, just being able to be in sports and have access to this league that they wouldn't have otherwise?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of research that shows like kids being involved in extracurriculars helps them academically and like mentally. And I think when you tie in the spiritual side of that, there's no research on that, but I think you can, like how many kids have come to know Christ because they end up at a place, that has a head coach who pursues Jesus, whether it's a Christian school or not. I think about a kid that we scholarshiped, our first kid actually, somebody was talking, I can't remember who was talking to her, but they said, how's softball going? And she's like, it's really good. She said, my sister got in trouble. She got arrested at home the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? That's so like, it's traumatic to see somebody you love get arrested. And she's like, I don't know. I was at softball practice. And to her, it wasn't a big deal. It was just like another day. But for me, I was like, this is so much bigger than just like getting to play. Like this is giving kids out of, maybe bad situations or giving parents a break, that have a ton of kids at home that just need some help.
Yeah.
So missing out on traumatic events like that's really cool. Like giving kids a chance to make the all-star team. Like that's really cool. I got a text from a mom yesterday, like her 2 kids at baseball practice. She's like, just wanted to share. And they're swinging away at the fences. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. So it's just giving people a chance. And I think that's what's most important. And who knows what that does for a kid long term.
Well, and you hear professional athletes and people who have been in sports, even to the college level and lower, that, breaking a cycle, because a lot of families that are struggling have these like repetition of generation after generation of the same kinds of mistakes and the same struggles. And somebody has to break through all of that. And I feel like sports gives an avenue to where a kid can learn from a different mentor, an adult who maybe brings some new things to their world that they wouldn't have thought of before. And especially if they're a Christian and a follower of Jesus and that, faith forward in the way that they lead these kids, can really be a life-changing thing. But to get access to that, it's amazing. You guys you're opening a door, and now these kids' lives can be different because of it. That's just really cool.
Yeah, obviously we're in this stage right now, but looking back at sports, that was one of the most impactful things for me as a kid, to develop a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Where, the illustration, a fixed mindset is, a kid who thinks I'm not smart, I'm not capable. I'm not, I can't do this or that. And a growth mindset is I can't yet, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to go practice. I'm going to be disciplined.
Right.
And I'm going to learn how to work at it. And then I can. And that for our household, I'm not trying to crush my kids' dreams, but the likelihood of one of my kids being a professional athlete is not very high.
Yeah. Just statistically, nothing against your kids,
Right.
just in general.
In general, but the likelihood that he will be a professional husband and father is a lot more likely.
Yeah.
And if I can put him in a situation where he can experience adversity in a controlled environment with good people around him, good coaches, good mentors who can walk alongside him as a sage and as a guide and guide him through that and teach him. Like that's the point of sports.
100%.
That's the point of sports in our household for sure is, hey, you're going to learn some discipline. You're going to learn how to lose. You're going to learn how to win. You're going to learn how to get along with people, even when you don't like them, even when they're annoying in the middle of adversity. And, you're going to be a better adult. Maybe you'll be awesome at intramural sports in college and some girl will look at you because of that.
That's right.
But that's something, a key tool that we have in the US for so many kids is to experience adversity in a controlled environment and learn how to grow through it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, we want to be able to help kids not do just sports. And we haven't had the opportunity for that yet, because typically sports, there's two kinds of leagues. You have your travel ball that takes place, seasonally or all year. And those fees are typically recurring or at a higher mark. So it's, $1,000, $1,500, $800 to play. We do more of the rec league kids. So kids that are going to play here locally. And there's nothing wrong. That's all I grew up on. It wasn't until high school that AAU was a thing, and we would just go down the road. And it was it's the same group of buddies that I played with anyway. So we really help the kids that are playing here locally. We don't have the ability yet to help with travel ball, multiple, things like memberships. So, if someone's doing piano lessons, that's a little bit harder to help with because it is a recurring payment as opposed to a one-time thing.
Yeah. So speak to that a little bit. Can you tell some of our audience may not be familiar with some of the financial burdens and barriers that a lot of the families that you guys are helping, they face on a day-to-day? It's their reality. Can you speak to that a little bit and what you guys are doing to help them with it?
Yeah. So this is kind of a passion project. I do this on the side. I work full-time at Texas Tech Credit Union. And we were actually having a manager meeting with United Way here in town. And she shared with us that 1 in 5 families in Lubbock live under the poverty line. And that really struck me because this was at the beginning of Flatland Youth Fund. And that number has sat with me for a long time, because every 5th family that you see at a restaurant or that you walk by at the grocery store represents a family that's under, they just don't make enough money to pay their, their basic utilities, housing, all of that. And so that is really hard for me, to know that there are people out there trying their best or trying to, like you said, break generational curses.
Yeah.
And so, so there's that piece of it. And then there's the sports barrier. So last year, my son played baseball. He was 4 at the time. We went to Play It Again Sports, where we bought everything the cheapest we could find, because it's kind of show, the glove, It doesn't actually do anything. It just kind of keeps his hand from getting to hurt, right?
At that age, yeah.
We bought cleats, glove, everything as cheap as we could do. And I think I bought a dozen baseballs to coach with. And it cost us, between that and registration, $500.
Still significant for a family that's barely making it.
Yeah. And my wife and I both work and we both make good money, but it's that's a lot of money to pay one time to play baseball especially for a 4-year-old. Yeah. And so you think about families that have to decide at the end of the month. It's okay, I have $100 to buy groceries for my kids or $100 to sign up for soccer. It's that's a no-brainer. You have to choose the groceries. And so that's where we want to step in and just say, hey, you buy your groceries and you can still get your kids to be able to participate in something that they enjoy. And if nothing else, give them an hour or 2 or 3 a week to just be a kid, and you to just see them have joy rather than feel the stress of, the family situation at home.
That's so good. When you get applicants, would you say that the overwhelming majority of those kids that have been applying so far have been able to be approved, or do you guys have to weed out what does that look like?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to costs. So when we did football, our first application window was before the fall. So, tackle football, come to find out, is really expensive because you have to pay, the kids have to cover the insurance, and they help cover the field fees, and they help cover the referees. And that's before they buy any equipment. So some kids were, registering for teams that were $250 or more. And then they had to go buy shoulder pads and a helmet and cleats. And
yeah, that adds up.
Like it's super expensive really fast. And so we had to turn a lot of kids away earlier. I think this last time in January, I think we had 56 or 57 applications, and we said yes to 53.
Okay.
So, the lower that we can get with our partners with the leagues who can help us bring prices down, the more grants and donors and things we can find, like the more opportunities we have to say yes. And our selection committee operates within a budget. So I give them, hey, we have X amount of dollars, and they try to maximize that to get as many kids served as we can.
Okay.
Right.
Tell me about the process of talking to leagues and figuring out how to get more kids in there. Like how are you going about that?
Yeah, it's been pretty organic. A lot of just like posting on Facebook, like who knows this person, who knows the president at Lubbock Cooper Little League. And then Albert will text Terry. And so like I've reached out to, I think we have 6 partners right now, and I'll say, hey, I tell them what they're doing. They understand it. And it's agreed upon price where we still honor them, where they are still getting enough money to cover that kid, because we don't want leagues to make a loss on a per kid registration. They do their best to like honor us as well and giving us a discounted rate. And then that way, when a kid registers, I just message them, say, hey, we have this list of, I think Cooper was 25 kids, sent them a check for 25 kids worth. And then they helped cover the registration piece. So every league looks a little bit different from the dollar point. We have one league here in town, Western. They just like, let us know, and we can we'll just waive the fee for them. And I was like, that's awesome. So we appreciate, a discounted rate all the way down to 100%. Just tell us, and we'll let them play. So it's just kind of organic conversation about what that looks like. And we want to also match with people who match like our values and things of that nature. So we want to make sure we're giving money to good leagues and good humans who are going to use that well.
Yeah.
And coach these kids well. The last thing I want to do is send a kid somewhere and them get, yelled at or cussed at. And it goes against the goal of what we're trying to do of like, we want you to be there, and they want to be there. Now they're dreading going to practice. So as best we can, we try to do those things.
Yeah. I think everybody has had the experience sitting at a practice where the dad who thinks his kid is going pro is yelling at everybody like, come on, they're 5 out here.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need you coaching them like that right now.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But for every one of those, there's a lot of great ones too. And getting back to what we were talking about earlier, getting your kid into a place where they can get that mentor, it's just a game changer. And especially for these kids that come from homes where they're struggling day to day just to make ends meet. How would a local business owner or somebody listening to this here in West Texas, and they're like, man, this is awesome, I didn't know about what you guys are doing, I want to support kids, like, what would you tell them that they need to do?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to be an avenue with that. So if they're looking for a place to donate or partner, we would love to have a conversation. If they're looking for a way to do it, like I'm a big believer in a rising tide, lifts all ships. So if there's something they want to do independently, like I'd be more than happy to help walk them through kind of how what we do and how we do it. So yeah, I think those are 2 good ways. We set it up as a 501 to give people a tax break. So like we try to make that advantageous for donors. But yeah, if they want to, we'd love to be a partner with them, and vice versa, see how we can bring value to them. Or if we can just share knowledge, do that as well.
Have you explored grant writing or, federal money for support of the program or things like that?
Yeah, I've we talked about God blessing Flatland, and he really has. We applied for grants last year, and we got turned down for some, and I got told yes for 3 at the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
And that's a big reason we were able to help so many kids in January. So we've had 3 grants that we've been able to be part of. And
congratulations. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you. And it's cool. Like, it's a cool feeling to be able to do that. So one of them was a grant plus matching. So they said, hey, if you can earn I think it was $5,000 or $6,000. Like, we're going to give you this amount, and then if you can earn whatever you earn between now and the end of the year, like, we'll match that. So, I really liked that because it was challenging to like, okay, well, how can we raise this much money?
Mhm.
And so we were able to do that. So, we kind of were able to multiply that from one, gift to three, essentially. We got 6, we earned 6, and then they matched it. So we turned 6 into 18. Well,
Fantastic.
we didn't, they did, but we appreciate the help. And then, so those things really help a ton. And so one of our board members, his wife actually writes grants. So she's going to help us a lot this year. And so some of it's just getting online, getting plugged in the right places, knowing the right people. And
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask, because that grant writing there's an art to it.
yeah, there is. ChatGPT wrote a lot of mine, and I learned pretty quickly that's not the best way to do it. But you learn and you kind of figure out. Some of them are more open format of kind of like an essay feel. It's not exactly an essay, but some of them are questions, and so you go in and you answer each question, and then when you do that, it forms your grant, quote unquote. So it just kind of depends on the format of how they're set up.
That makes sense.
I really appreciate the thoughtfulness and intentionality of like talking to these leagues, kind of discerning the leagues. Cause even here in Lubbock, like there's some leagues like I wouldn't let my boys play in because of, the goofball parents, getting in fights and acting like wild banshees. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness there and just like having the courage to just go and develop relationship with people. And I feel like, so many nonprofits, it's when the people, it's one thing to give to, Susan G. Komen and who knows, you give $1, how much of that dollar is actually going there.
Yeah.
And so that's really impactful and cool. There's just not many layers between where that check goes and what benefit the kid sees. What does this look like 5 years down the road? Like what's your vision for this? And kind of paint a picture of leagues, kids. What does that look like?
Yeah. I get so worried sometimes about dreaming about the future because if I don't get it, it feels like a failure. And I think I've had to get over myself a little bit with that. So I would love to be expanded, like from just helping Lubbock area. I kind of see it as kind of 4-directional here locally. I would like to get up to Amarillo and help kids. I'd like to go east and help kids all the way like towards Abilene and then south to Midland. And I think that creates a pretty good demographic in a pretty widespread area. Because I get those 4 like major towns and cities within about 100 miles, give or take, that we can make a difference. I also want it to be a place that, I don't think it's the end all be all where we are a one-stop shop for everybody. But one of my goals is to have enough money that we can staff people that they can follow up almost as case managers. And it's like, hey, in your application, you said you're having a hard time finding a job. Like, have you found a job? No. Okay, well, let us get you plugged in with such and such. Or, hey, let's get you involved with Lubbock Impact, or let's get you involved. So almost as like a connector to help families like, hey, we're going to help you with sports, but we also want to help you get in the right places to get the resources outside of just this. Because while we're providing a little bit of a breather, like a little bit of fresh air, those problems are still there. Like, there's still food insecurity. There's still light bills not being paid. There's still mentors not in the home because maybe mom's having to work 3 jobs and she's doing her best, but kids are raising themselves. And so, like, how can we provide resources from other places who do things better by saying, hey, we want to help you with sports? And that's where I kind of see it going down the road is like, we're going to help with these things. We're going to help bridge the gap, but we also want to be able to help families get the resources that they need outside of just sports and theater and music and that sort of thing.
That's a beautiful thing because a lot of people who need that help don't seek out those resources, but they might seek out sports, like they might want their kid to play baseball or whatever. And the fact that you guys see that and you're like, okay, from there we can connect them to this ministry or this nonprofit and really, help them keep going and grow out of, find ways to break out of where they're at right now. It's an awesome idea.
There's an old saying there, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So how do you make him drink? You salt his oats.
Salt his oats.
Salt his oats. So,
Nice.
I like it.
So, kids sports, you're salting their oats, man.
Yeah.
You get them in the door and plug them into more stuff.
Yeah. I mean, what better way to, build a relationship with somebody than like loving them and their family well? You know, like think about how many relationships and friendships you have just from like being at the ballpark or being at the football field with your kids or
Right.
at a school event, like a trunk or treat. And it's like, oh, that's little Johnny's parents. And then you meet their parents and they're like, oh, those are, those are great humans. And so
Yeah.
kind of in the same vein, we want to be able to do that and help families. So I've always had a heart for like the underdog. Like I think some of that comes from my wife. Like I've been so inspired by her. She has served marginalized people groups like since I've met her. Like she's worked at Open Door, she's worked at High Point Village. So just
I love High Point.
it's one of my favorite places in the world. And so so being able to watch her like serve the homeless community, and then she did some internship hours out at the prison, and like that's a community that needs love too. Like it's people that have made mistakes, but they're still human. And so watching her do that, I think has really encouraged me to do so. And ours just happens to be my combination of like sport and, making sure that nobody's left out. And so that's kind of where it came from.
So for our listeners, some of the things that we've already worked together. You're in our mastermind group.
It's been awesome, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So I was just curious from that experience, is there been anything that you've taken away from, working with Stag Business Coaching and the mastermind group that's been really helpful in thinking about the future and how you guys can grow Flatland into something that reaches that vision you're talking about?
Yeah, it's fun to sit in that room because, we have people who are like fourth generation business owners who may be doing millions of dollars a year in business. We have people who employ hundreds of people. And then you have like the solopreneurs. And so mine's a little bit different because we're a nonprofit, but at the end of the day, it's still business. So it's like, how do we generate revenue, quote unquote? How do we receive donors and grants and those things to do the work that we need to do? Mm-hmm. And so just some of the feedback from, when I was in the hot seat last week or last month was like, hey, like you do social media, like, part of your social media like push is, you help kids. And some of the feedback was like, none of your social media has any kids on it. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, yeah, that's great. And I've thought about that every single day since then. And, that's kind of weird to like get pictures of people's like kiddos and be like, can we put this on social media? But so many parents have been like, all of them have been like, yeah, like, please do, like, share, feel free to share their story, tell about us. And I'm like, all right, cool. So there's just been so many little things like understanding our numbers and like what it cost us. And, is it, is doing this thing worth this dollar? And so I think for me, it's changed the way I think about it rather than just like, all right, well, let's hope that this works out. It's like, how can we be strategic in how we grow and how we make our dollars go farther and that sort of thing.
Love it. Well, for those who are listening, and I think you're an example, or what examples you just gave, the synergy you have in the room of people who come from these different business types and different size organizations. And by the end, everybody's wanting to work together and a fresh set of eyes. You mentioned the hot seat for those listening. In our mastermind group, at the end of each meeting, we have one of the business owners in the room who tells about their biggest challenge or their biggest opportunity right now. And then we as a group have a framework that we, talk through, like, how do we help?
Yep.
And it's amazing the ideas and the different perspectives, what it leads to. It's just a fun experience for everybody each time. And I'm glad that it's been a benefit to you.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I had, Jason shared, I think y'all just posted his episode as well. I think today or yesterday.
Jason Nesloni, yeah.
Yeah. And he, because he's a home builder in town. And he said, if you're bringing this to me in my business, he's like, I want to be hooked. And he's like, a video or something. And so that inspired our next board meeting to be like, hey, we need to like get kids to, let's like bring our scholarship recipients together. Let's try to have like picnic in the park, something like that. So we're working on that right now as well. So, and that's feedback from the mastermind group.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, our website looks great, but like we need those kids on there. Like we need parents telling the story about like,
and make a community out of what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Cause it's great to operate and do those things, but never getting to like see those kids run around and see them enjoy it. Like we're missing out on the biggest piece of it. So a lot of that has come out of the mastermind, which has been really good feedback.
That's great. I love it.
I love it. Okay. What parting call to action for those listening? What's one step you want people to take to get engaged with Flatland Youth Fund?
Yeah, I think it would just be, not even if it's specifically us, because obviously like we're a nonprofit and we need financial help because we don't sell a good or we don't sell a service. So if you're willing to like donate, you're looking for somewhere to park your donation dollars, like we would absolutely love to be that place for you. If it's not us, like find something you're passionate about and like pour in, whether it's time or money, like, and even it doesn't have to be a nonprofit or a church. Just find something that you're passionate about with people that need help and donate what you can. So if you have time, donate your time, like go serve. If you have resources, donate your resources. Like, we had a guy in our mastermind that said, "Hey, I don't know if this would help, but we have a Sprinter van that you could use to drop kids off." And I was like, "That's awesome. Like, that's not something we can do right now, but what a cool service if we were able to be like, hey, we're going to actually go pick kids up that need to be picked up and take them to practice." And I could see that becoming like taking kids to school that so that, they have a safer trip to school and all that. So, but just get involved, like plug in, donate your time, donate your resources. I think that would do a lot of good for the Lubbock community.
That's great. Well, then there's a lot of places people can give to, a lot of good causes out there. There are many that may be as good, but I wouldn't say there's anything better that you could give to than Flatland. And Cade's the real deal. So every dollar you give, I know I can speak for him, is going to be used for good. And so that's another nice thing that anyone listening,
thank you. I appreciate
if they want to give to y'all, they're going to make a difference in some kid's life.
I thought about this last year. I think I put a video out on social media, but I was watching the Court of Gold documentary. So it's the Team USA basketball team going for gold, and they played against France and all of that. And they talked about Bam Adebayo. And I thought about this again this week because he just scored 83 points in a game the other night.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Insane. That's crazy. But the thing that has stuck with me about him from the documentary is he grew up single mom in a single wide trailer. Mom made like less than 10 grand a year. Mom would she would walk to and from work every single day. She never bought a car because she wanted to be able to afford for Bam to play basketball. And so we may never scholarship a Bam Adebayo. Like we may not, and that's okay. But like to think about giving a kid like that a chance who could end up in the NBA playing for a gold medal, like scoring 83 points in an NBA game, like just a kid that gets an opportunity. That is why we exist. It's just to give kids a chance. And it doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what color their skin is. It doesn't matter if they go to church, if they don't believe. Like we just want to love families and love kids well and like make sure that they have an opportunity to do what they're passionate about. And so, yeah, that's why we exist. And that story has stuck with me ever since then. I watched it like probably 18 months ago, and I think about that all the time. And then he did that last night out, and he talked about that actually, like I think they asked him like, what inspired you? And he pulled up his phone. One of the coaches was talking about, every day after practice, he would go and keep shooting, practicing, whatever. And they're like, why do you do this? And he'd pull up that single wide trailer on his phone and show it to him and say like, this is why. And so I think mom doesn't work now and she's retired. And so stories like that are like, I hope we can give kids like that a chance.
Yeah. Well, if you never have a BAM, at least basketball wise, there can be BAMs in other forms.
Absolutely. And I think about kids getting in front of like, I think about a kid that is lucky enough to be coached by one of you two guys. Like you guys are both men of character and men of God. And for a kid to look at you two and go, oh, like, that's what fatherhood looks like. That's what being a good man looks like. That changes the course of a kid's life. You know what I mean? And so our core values are stewardship, inclusion, and community. And so we want kids to be included. We want to steward them well and sort our resources well. And we want to put them in good, strong, healthy communities that help them become better humans. And so if we can do that, like if we can help them become better human beings, that's what it's about. I don't care if they're good at sports or not. Because I played sports and I wasn't very good at it, but I think I'm a decent human. And so sports played a part of that.
That's great. Thank you.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right. If you are a business owner or leader and you feel stuck in your business is plateaued and you don't know how to get to the next level, go to our website, stagcoaching.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, click to book your free consultation. And in your free consultation, we'll give you the next few steps you need to take your business to the next level. It's free and it's on our website, stagcoaching.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.